Now, if you've had the displeasure of seeing any of the Call of Duty Zombies related discourse recently, you might have noticed a bit of a trend. On one side, you have people who are glazing the life out of Black Ops 6 Zombies and claiming it's the best thing since sliced bread. Because people don't know how to slice bread apparently. And then on the other side, you have the stuck up Black Ops 3 fanboys who will claim that it's bad just because it's different, with insanely stupid reasons like "Move Warzone," like that shit means anything. And yeah, it really is as stupid as it sounds, because Black Ops 6 Zombies seems surprisingly good. It definitely fixes a lot of Cold War mechanics and manages to have really good fucking maps. However, as much as it is different from classic Zombies in many positive ways, there definitely are still some objective issues with the game, such as the atrocious mangler spam, which is finally getting addressed, as well as the subject of today's video, the point system. So, for those that don't know, the way the point system used to work before is that you would get 10 points for every hit you land on a zombie, and you would get a varying amount of points per kill depending on where on the body the lethal shot is, with body shots generally giving give or take 60, while headshots gave 100, and melee kills 130. So that way, you had the option to earn points even if your gun is too weak to actually kill, which gave purpose to the weaker guns like the M14, which would otherwise be completely overshadowed by the Olympia. The point system in Black Ops Cold War and Black Ops 6, however, changed it where you have to fully kill a zombie before you can get any points, with regular kills rewarding 90 and critical kills rewarding a bit extra. There are a few ways you can squeeze out some extra points without killing by using shit like decoys or the Tesla Stormfield upgrade, but those are insanely unreliable due to how, number 1, you won't always get them as they're often tied to RNG, and number 2, they give negligible amount of points, so you'll likely only squeeze out about 200 per horde, if you're lucky. This by itself created way more problems, especially because not only do the perks go up in price, but they also added armor, which is earned with points. So you will be constantly and annoyingly bottlenecked for zero reason, unless RNG blesses you with a bunch of double points and bonus points power-ups. Not to mention that when you die and respawn, you won't have enough points to get a weapon that can reliably kill, and since killing is the only way to get points, you're better off just leaving the fucking game. Among plenty of other problems which I'll touch on a bit later. So it is a universally agreed upon fact that this new point system is just a complete downgrade, which benefits nobody, only made exponentially more clear when even Treyarch aren't able to give a proper reason for the change that isn't completely bullshit, or even keep their story straight for that matter. But apparently, people on the internet always feel the need to be contrarians about everything, and that's definitely the case with this game we'll be taking a look at today. The title of this video is "The Horribly Misunderstood New Point System," and comes from Clam Rally. And yeah, spoiler alert, but this video is essentially just him running defenses for the point system by using flaccid arguing tactics, such as bringing up constant red herrings to avoid actually talking about the point system. You'll see what I mean. Anyways, without any further ado, let's go right ahead and play this shit.
I'm going to begin this video by saying, like a lot of my other videos, this one's going to require a bit of a nuanced mindset. So I would appreciate if you listen all the way through before leaving a comment.
Yeah, as someone who watched the entire video, if you put more effort into actually making arguments instead of worrying about the reception, maybe this video could win a few people over.
Let's get into it. The point system. Probably the most divisive single mechanic in this game that impacts the whole game and how it's played. The old versus the new. Which one's better for zombies? You might be quick to answer that by saying the old system. But what if I told you? No. I think the point system is just fine the way it functions with the earn points per kill instead of earn points per shot.
Unless you want to try a different weapon, you go down too many times, bleed out on co-op, or don't have Gobblegum to give you point power-ups when RNG fucks you. Like sure, is it a deal breaker? No. The game is still mostly playable with it. But is it an objective downgrade which caused way more issues than it fixed? Absolutely.
Linearly increasing point costs for perk purchases are better than the stagnant cost that the perks had in the classic days.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with the point system. It has to do with the perk system being completely different, with there being no perk cap, which made this price increase a necessary thing for balancing. Shit, Black Ops 4 also had fixed points you can get from a single zombie, yet it didn't have perks going up in price. And why is that? That's right, because the perk system was completely fucking different, and therefore, this entire point is completely moot when talking about the fucking point system.
And salvage is definitely a welcome addition to the point economy.
Except it has nothing to do with the point system either, as it's a completely separate currency for additions like equipment, rarities and score streaks. And the ATs in this game. Like dude, if you wanna glaze Black Ops 6 for its mechanics, maybe don't drag the point system into a discussion if you're just going to beat around the bush and not touch it with a 10-foot pole.
And while I do think the old point system might work in this new game, I do think it's important to give this point system a fair shot and kind of explain how the system works and why it's done like this.
Oh, I can tell you that right now. It's because one of Treyarch employees gave an anecdote about his friend or brother or whoever that supposedly got yelled at for not maximizing points. And just ignoring that it's a public lobby in a co-op game, and that anecdotes are worth as much as soggy toilet paper and are better used for wiping your ass instead of it, that line of thinking is not only insanely retarded, but also insanely destructive. Should we also remove door costs because the person with the most points is always yelled at to open up the map? Should we restrict the maximum number of points to under 2500 before the power is on because everyone's excuse is always that they're saving for Jug? Should we put some arbitrary restriction on the fucking mystery box because there's always that one guy who spends all his points on nothing but a box? You see how fucking stupid that is?
And here and there, I'm going to be referencing CJ Santa's video about the point system. There's a couple things I'll bring up as to what I liked about it, but also a couple things as to what I didn't like about it. But the guy, he seems cool. Like, go check out his channel. We can disagree and just live in harmony. Like, we can coexist like that. And I would like to continue the conversation like that.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about that other guy. Never heard of him, nor do I care. But yeah, stating that video game discussions are not life or death is stating the fucking obvious. But then again, we are on the internet where every person without fail is a coin toss of being brain dead moron or not, so yeah. But anyways, this is where he does his intro where he explains what zombies is and how the point system works, so skip please.
Both of these systems boast really good and really bad things for their respective games, but I think it's probably really tough to kind of mix the two together. And while there's obvious similarities between the two game modes, I think there's a lot of subtle differences between these two that not a lot of people pick up on, and I think the point system has a lot to do with it. But why is the old system so good? Let's get into that. It rewarded clever play. To take a quote from CJ Santa's video,
you see, with the pistol, it gives the players who are smart the opportunity to min-max the number of points they can get on very low rounds. You could just shoot a zombie with your bullets in the chest until they die, or you could shoot the legs, which does less damage but gives you more points, and then knife, which really provided more points for the player.
I 1000% agree. You can be clever with your shots and knife to get an edge on the amount of points you have in the early rounds. That was just straight up rewarding you for being clever, like in its purest form. And when you started picking up more powerful weapons to face the higher health pool zombies, you usually kept a weaker gun or a point gun to farm points to then upgrade your other gun, to buy perks, to pack a punch, etc, etc. If you were smart and willing to like put in the time to like shoot the zombie and really min-max points, you can get all your perks and weapons upgraded by around even like 15 to 20, sometimes even earlier than that, like if you're really min-maxing. It really was a nice way to make the player feel like they were progressing nicely throughout the early game. But here's my problem with that. Historically, I've loved zombies for a multitude of reasons. But there was one thing in particular that I really did not like doing. High rounds. The reason I don't like high rounding in the old games is because, to be honest, I think they're incredibly boring.
Yeah, that's cool and all, but what does this have to do with the point system exactly? The point system literally stops mattering after you are set up and maybe have enough to regain if you get your dick stuck in a dryer and go down. After that, it really doesn't matter, and high rounds being boring is due to the other systems of the game, such as the enemies and map quirks. The furthest thing from the fucking point system.
And just not engaging at all. Not to say that someone can't find that fun, clearly people grind the high rounds of the older games all of the time. And when they do get these crazy high rounds, I'm like just in utter awe with how dedicated someone can be to get those insane rounds. Like nothing short of absolute respect to these guys. Like y'all are insane. I could never do that. Me personally, I just don't really like old game higher rounds for many reasons. And I actually do think there are legitimate flaws in the system, with the biggest one for me being the point system.
What?
Literally fucking hell. Yeah, guys. When I'm on round 70 running circles on Kino Der Toten with the Olympia and get bored, I'm all like, damn man, fuck that point system. If I wasn't getting points right now, I would be having so much fun. Like, bruh, you cannot be fucking serious right now.
And I want to clarify, when I say high rounds, I'm not talking crazy like 1, 2, 300. I'm more so kind of just talking like when you start getting to the high rounds, like where the progression ends and then the high rounds start. Usually between like 35 or 40 to 50. I would say what the average player considers a high round. Like if I'm just trying to hop on a game of Kino, right? The most common old school zombies map, Kino or like Derice or something like that, right? I'm going through the map like normal, and by round 25, guys, I have every single thing that I need and more. All my perks, both my guns pap. What else do I need to spend my points on? Absolutely nothing, except for when I go down and have to rebuy only my perks. And even then, I have way more points than I know what to do with. The points that I've saved up eventually start to have no value anymore because I'm just given the points only by shooting and not even killing, only by shooting.
I mean, you really gotta love this shit. So he says he's talking about gameplay after the progression ends, and then he says it's bad because he can't spend his points. Like, no fucking shit, Sherlock. That's kind of what it means to be at the end of progression. Literally the perfect example of just looking for a reason to bitch.
But realistically, by round 25, I'll have like 18,000 points. The value of the points is gone because I have enough right now to buy my perks back twofold. And mind you, I'm on round 25. At round 30, I have 33,000 points. Like actually, what the hell else am I gonna spend my points on? Claymores? Grenades? No.
And in the new point system, you wouldn't have shit to spend it on either. That's kinda how being at the end of progression works. Like, oh no bro.
Oh no, bro.
When I bought everything, there's nothing to buy? In other news, the floor is made out of floor, but yeah. Now he just goes in circles repeating the same bullshit talking points, so let's go on and move on to the next. The wonders of fucking video essays for your bitch ass. Literally cannot not waste your time.
But in the later rounds, the whole draw to zombies in the first place to get to a higher round, they sucked. Here's the perfect example of what I mean by this. You have to respin the mystery box a bunch of times to get thunder gun ammo again when you run out of it because the thunder gun doesn't make drops.
And here we have another fucking red herring. Motherfucker. The strategies being employed wouldn't change with the fucking point system. Like in Blood of the Dead. The most overpowered strategy is to sit next to the chain trap and do nothing. But that game has limited points per zombie. Yet would you look at that, the strategy is just as boring. If Kino had that, the strategy would still be the same. What's the alternative? Emptying your shitty MPL to get 0 kills? Literally none of the shit he said so far has a single thing to do with the point system. And we're over 8 minutes into the video. So let's skip this flaccid argument and move on to the next.
The old point system wasn't exactly sunshine and rainbows like people are saying it was, and to imply that it had little to no flaws is looking at it a little bit too rose-tinted. I think people tend to think Treyarch is just doing things for no reason.
Because they are. When they can't even muster up a reason that's not completely bullshit, that's kind of what that signifies. I mean, we're talking about the same motherfuckers who were fighting against adding an advanced UAV to Cold War's multiplayer, with the only reason being that they sucked at the game and got folded by it in older games. And no, I'm not joking.
But each decision that has been made has really changed up the game to make it more engaging to get to higher rounds, which is the draw to zombies in the first place. Play a fun game with engaging progression to get to a higher round.
So you admit they listen to feedback, yet for some reason you're completely against fixing an obviously flawed system because you hate high rounds on Kino? Weird flex, but okay.
Now there's a bunch of different reasons in Black Ops 6 as to why high rounds aren't as fun, but I don't think points is the reason for that.
Well yeah, no shit. It's because they don't matter if you're set up and don't go down. But you gotta love the double standard here. So Black Ops 1 high rounds are bad because you can't purchase things at the end of progression, but Black Ops 6 is not, it's for a different reason, despite the same shit being fucking true.
It wasn't clear already. I think the early games' progression was just a little too fast. But in BO6, since the progression is kind of stretched out a little more, it feels like I'm progressing further and I'm not getting bored as fast.
Obviously, since the progression has been extended, you have more perks to buy than 4, and you have multiple pack-a-punch tiers as well as armor. That has nothing to do with the point system, as that is simply a case of there being more shit to spend on. It is only tangentially related, but it would be the same story no matter the point system. So in short, this is yet another red herring.
Eric has listened to our feedback and made progression feel better while also making the game feel difficult. People are saying, oh, just put in the old point system. I don't know why they don't do it. Here's exactly why. If you got as many points as you do in this old point system, nothing would feel rewarding.
Which when translated from bullshit to English just means, I have no arguments, so I'm just gonna push my own biases and state it as an objective fact. I mean, are we seriously claiming that getting pack-a-punch in the older games wasn't rewarding? Or that buying perks wasn't rewarding? Like seriously. You honestly have to try to make an argument this disingenuous.
There's a reason they capped out as many points as they did on each zombie, because they wanted to innovate in other areas.
Yeah, that's complete bullshit and you know it. They can still innovate in those other areas without capping the points. Also, I love how we're pretending that we're not playing a game where you can just pull the wonder weapon out of the box on your very first hit. Or even get it for free before round 10 consistently. Any balance related arguments for why the points need to be capped gets thrown out of the fucking window at that point, because you can have the best weapon in the fucking game, which also has infinite ammo half the fucking time.
With the perfect example being augments. I would say these are wonderful additions that most people also agree on saying they're great additions in this game. But I'll go one step further. They are the greatest thing this game mode has ever seen.
That's right, guys. Augments are better than Easter eggs, Coca-Colas, Pack-a-Punch, characters and whatnot. Like, don't get me wrong, they are a great feature and a massive step up from the dog shit Ethereum upgrades from Cold War, but to say they are the best is just completely overselling it. Oh yeah, this is where he rambles about augments to further waste everyone's time, as it's completely irrelevant to the discussion of the point system, so skip please.
If I had to guess, they probably did want to try out an old point system in this game, but with all the stuff that they added in, they probably felt that you were getting stuff a little too fast, so they wanted to stretch it out. And I think that's okay because things are more powerful.
Yeah, and this is the exact reason why you do your research instead of assuming, because otherwise you look like a fucking retard. And the actual reason is the shitty anecdote I mentioned earlier about some John Doe getting yelled at for not maximizing points. Also, they could have made shit cost more and still have the old system, and I don't understand why this dude is pretending there's such a foreign concept. Unless, of course, to make his red herrings seem like anything other than what they actually are.
You're no longer just handed these points in the later rounds, you have to like earn them, and I think that makes the game more engaging and more challenging, and I think it feels more natural.
And it creates a fuck ton of other problems which I listed at the start just to fix this one artificial one. What's your fucking point?
So basically what I'm saying is, points have more value. You want to have all these perks and be very strong, you gotta save up the money to do so and commit to a build to be this strong. The idea that they're stunting variety in the game by making you stick to one gun for an entire game to facilitate a camo grind because of this point system, I think that's just kind of totally misrepresenting how this game works.
No, that's just a logical conclusion. While it is a bit of a stretch, it is undeniable that the new point system absolutely steps all over any form of mid-game variety. Oh, what's that? You got a legendary weapon as a side quest reward? Well, fuck you, give up your double packed weapon and head over 170 kills worth of points to use it because some imaginary gamemode got imaginary yelled at. Oh, you don't have the points? Well, fuck you. Listen, dude, Black Ops 6 is a pretty damn good game. I'd personally put it over Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 any day. But that doesn't mean you should defend every last aspect of it, like, let's be realistic here.
And I'm going to bring up this video again by CJ Santa. Again, no hate at all to you at all. I really like this video, but I think a little bit more could have been put into why the point system could potentially be good.
But BO6 takes it even further and makes the point system even worse. You see, because of the amount of bosses that the game spawns in, and how little points they drop when you kill them, it causes players to waste their ammo and not even be able to get it back in a lot of ways for the mid-rounds.
My argument for this is that while I do agree more points need to drop from these elite enemies for sure, it's not like that's any different than the old games. In Black Ops 2, when you kill a Panzer, you get 100 points. Are you fucking serious? I fucking never realized that back in the day. At least they changed it in Black Ops 3 to where you get 1500 points per Panzer, and you can't rebuy ammo for your box weapons. You can in this game.
Again, this has nothing to do with the point system in the slightest. And I'm also gonna skip past this next part because there's nothing really of note there for me to respond to.
And I think being able to switch on the fly like that would make things far too easy. Progression of your guns in this game is way deeper than progression in the early games. So I think it should cost more and take longer to earn. But here's the thing, I don't think one is better than the other. I think it's just more of a preference thing.
For context, this is him talking about how things cost more because you're more powerful, which is all fine and dandy. But the problem is how he says that switching to another weapon mid-match should also cost more, like bruh. There's a million solutions here they can implement to make switching to a different weapon less painful. Returning the alt point system would make it bearable at least, but it's not a perfect solution. Still though, wasn't this dude bitching earlier how the old point system gave him too many points after he's maxed out, with that being his only gripe with it? Yet now, where he could use those points hypothetically to try a different weapon on the fly, he is aggressively fighting against that. Almost like he's just looking for any reason to bitch.
And to talk about your point about the variety, the progression and variety may not be more so like gun to gun, you know, going from a weaker, more point-based gun to a powerful gun, but more so progression with how you earn the powerful stuff. The old system may have given you points with the guns you used, but I think we don't actually give enough credit to the things that are actually useful in this game, like things like grenades or other lethal equipment in the later rounds, but they aren't incredibly overpowered.
Yeah, that's a complete fucking lie, by the way. The fact equipment is really strong is common fucking knowledge, like shit. Why do you think they got nerfed coming from Cold War? Also, you gotta love this dude just said that progression shifted from earning points with the point gun to earning points? Like, what even is that fucking point? Also, are we seriously implying that giving use to weaker weapons which have no gameplay benefit over something else otherwise is a bad thing? Especially when you can spawn with whatever the fuck you want. Why would I want to pick a macro over the USP when the USP is just stronger and turns into Sally? I'll tell you. Unless I'm grinding camos or have other personal reasons, I wouldn't. And if it's not going to kill, why not give it a different use?
In the older games, these things served almost no purpose. Like in the early rounds, sure, but like after you get past a certain point, you're not using grenades anymore other than to maybe make a crawler.
And here he goes with yet another red herring. Yes, we get it, equipment is useful and it's a great change and you wanna dress up like a clown and have sex with Treyarch and kill them, but is it really too much to ask we stay on topic? What am I saying? It's a video essay, of course it is, so let me help with that.
That's something that killed variety. Only feeling like I could use a wonder weapon and not being able to use things like shotguns or snipers once I got to the later rounds. Because the point system is somewhat fixed, they can focus on making other guns more powerful, like shotguns and snipers that were historically ignored.
And here we have yet another completely irrelevant point. The reason you can use more guns in the high rounds is very simple. The zombie health cap. Once again, nothing to do with the point system in the slightest. And I'm sorry to break it to you, but just because you say it's magically because of the point system doesn't make it true.
And I think that's much more of a problem than just, oh, it's one little problem. I think a whole weapon type not being used that much is a big problem. Like, who looked at the L96, the Stakeout, the HS-10, and guns similar to that and were like, oh yay, let me keep these guns. You don't need a point gun anymore. This is a whole new style of game.
That's right, guys. It's not worse, it's just new, bro. You do realize people would use those guns in the older games if they actually killed, right? That's not lost on you. And the reason they didn't is because the zombies scaled infinitely in health. It's not that the point system that magically made zombies immune to bullets. If Black Ops 6 didn't have the health cap, the problem would still remain the fucking same. And it would be even worse since you wouldn't be able to get points with the wonderful new point system. At this rate, he's just trying to be purposefully disingenuous.
But here's the thing, right? There's going to be tiers and metas to weapons no matter what. And I think it's important in a game like this. Like, who's gonna take the CZ75s to round 35? Like, that seems like utter hell. But in this game, I gave it a try with the 9mm Makarov pistol, and I could get to round 35 with relative ease.
Yeah, this is a complete false equivalency. Black Ops 1 only had one tier of Pack-a-Punch and no AATs. Black Ops 6 has 3 fucking tiers and does have AATs. Like, seriously, how many more fallacies are we going to encounter? And as I say that, he goes on more tangents about shit like the reception to Black Ops 6, because that's totally relevant and not bullshit to pad out this already long video, so skip please.
And although I just spent the last however long glazing this point system, there are a ton of changes that I think could and should be made to make the player feel like they can actually catch up to the difficulty ramping up as the rounds progress. In the old games, I felt you got way too many points early on, contributing to a large discrepancy with the idea of points versus round progression. The point system felt a little exponential. In this game, the discrepancy is a little bit more to my liking, but definitely is a bit on the lower side, meaning you don't make enough points to catch up with the rounds progressing. For this game, the answer I think would be to just simply give slightly more points in every area of the map. Killing zombies should give you 115 points, just to kill. Headshots should be 150 points. And melee kills should be 200 points per kill.
That's a band-aid solution that doesn't actually fix the majority of the problems with the new point system. It makes it better, sure, but at the same time, most of the core issues still remained.
I don't know why they went and changed that. Like, it was so dumb. Melee kills, you really gotta get into the fray, so it should be worth more. And Melee Macchiato would see more usage with that change for regular zombies, but I think they really need to increase the speed of the animation on its own. Like, when you don't have the knife out, just punch real quick, because you have to put your gun away anyways. Buff that. Nukes should give you 1,000 points. And bonus points should give you 2,000 points.
Yeah, remember how we was bitching not even 30 seconds ago how you got way too many points too fast with the old point system? Yeah, I don't think I need to point out the obvious, especially when you layer it with double points. So yeah, typical case of armchair game designer having double standards to make himself seem smart.
Like, come on, 400 and 500 points? Are you fucking serious? Just give us more points with power-ups, and while I'm on this topic, make the power-up spawn just a little more often.
Yeah, and give everyone the Black Ops 3 extra credit gobblegum every round. Like, you really gotta love this. He bitches how his only gripe with the old point system is that you get too many points, and then he wants to introduce the same gripe of his to the new point system, but without any additional input required to get to that point. Like, yeah. Seeing how we're at the solution part of the video essay video, there's not much more interesting shit that happens, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. So I guess the moral of the story here is, old point system bad because it's not new. Yeah, like, I'm sorry to say to this dude, but no amount of quote-unquote nuance is going to fix fallacious arguments, like, seriously. If he doesn't like that old point system that fucking much, that's all fine, but making a whole ass video rambling about irrelevant nonsense in an attempt to justify that is just insanely pathetic, and I don't think I have to repeat why, so yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. Be sure to like and subscribe to boost me in the algorithm. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.